Okay, so, like, have you ever played a game and it feels like you're actually in another world?
Yeah, I mean, like the graphics are insane these days, right?
Mm.
Some games are almost photorealistic.
Exactly, and it's not just the looks. It's how the characters act and react,
Hmm.
the worlds they live in. It's all so immersive.
It really makes you wonder how they pull it off right.
Well, a big part of that magic is artificial intelligence, or AI, and that's what we're diving into today.
AI in video games.
Yep. Now, I know AI can sound kind of intimidating, all techy and stuff.
Right, it's easy to get lost in the jargon.
Exactly. But we're going to break it all down, make it fun and fascinating. Think of it this way. Ever played a game where the bad guys seem to outsmart you at every turn?
Or explored a world that feels practically endless.
That's AI at work.
It's the brain behind so much of what makes modern games so captivating.
So let's start with the basics. Every game has those characters that aren't, you're right,
Mhm.
the non-player characters or NPCs.
Right. Back in the day, NPCs were pretty basic. They just followed simple routines like walking back and forth or standing in one spot.
Yeah, like those guards in really old games that just patrolled the same little area over and over again.
Exactly. But now, thanks to AI, those NPCs are way more dynamic.
They actually react to what you, the player, are doing.
That's what we call behavioral AI, and it's used in a ton of games.
Yeah.
Take Red Dead Redemption 2, for example.
Oh man, that game is beautiful.
And the NPCs are incredible. They don't just stand around waiting for you to talk to them. They go about their daily lives, they have conversations. They even react differently to you based on how you've treated them in the past.
It's like they have actual personality.
Exactly. And that level of detail really makes the game world feel alive.
Totally. It's not just cowboys either. The Last of Us is another great example.
Oh, yeah. The way the infected react to sound and movement is seriously intense.
Super creepy, but so well done.
It's all thanks to AI.
Now, you mentioned that NPCs can actually learn and adapt to the player.
Right. That's another level of AI called adaptive AI, and that can be pretty intense.
Yeah, I remember playing FEAR years ago.
Oh, yeah. That game was famous for its AI.
I swear those enemies were getting smarter as I played. Like they were learning my tactics and countering them.
That's exactly what adaptive AI is designed to do. It analyzes how you play your strengths and weaknesses and then adjusts the game accordingly. So the better you get, the harder the game becomes.
Which is cool in theory. But I gotta say, sometimes it felt a bit unfair. Like no matter how good I got, the game always found a way to make me struggle.
I get that. It's a balancing act for sure. If the AI is too good, it can actually make the game less fun because you never feel like you're truly in control.
Right. Like what's the point of playing if you know the game is going to keep throwing impossible challenges at you no matter what?
But when it's done right, adaptive AI can create a really dynamic and engaging experience. It keeps you on your toes, it forces you to think strategically, and it makes every playthrough feel a bit different.
Okay, I see your point. So AI is making NPCs more realistic, more reactive. But what about those massive open worlds we see in so many games these days?
Ah, yes, the worlds themselves.
Games like Minecraft or No Man's Sky, they just seem to go on forever. Like, how is that even possible?
That's where procedural content generation comes in. It's basically AI that builds game worlds for you.
Wait, so instead of developers painstakingly crafting every single detail of a game world,
The AI does a lot of the heavy lifting. It uses algorithms and rules to generate landscapes, environments, even entire planets.
that's insane.
Right. Think about Minecraft. It's essentially an infinite world, and every time you start a new game, the AI generates a completely unique landscape with mountains and forests and caves.
And it's all happening on the fly as I'm exploring.
Pretty much. It's like having an AI world builder working behind the scenes, constantly creating new content for you to discover.
That's incredible. And it's not just Minecraft, right? You mentioned No Man's Sky earlier.
Yeah, No Man's Sky is another amazing example of procedural content generation. The AI in that game creates quintillions of unique planets, each with its own ecosystem, flora, fauna, weather patterns. It's mind-boggling.
It's like the game itself is a never-ending source of surprises. And it's all thanks to AI.
Exactly. So AI is not only giving NPCs brains, it's also building the worlds they live in.
Now, we talked about how AI can make games harder, but there's also AI that's designed to make the game more fun, right?
Absolutely. We touched on adaptive AI, but there's also something called dynamic difficulty.
Okay, so adaptive AI is about the enemies getting smarter, and dynamic difficulty is more about.
It's about the overall challenge of the game. So a game with dynamic difficulty will adjust things like the number of enemies, the strength of those enemies, even the availability of resources based on how well you're doing.
So if I'm kicking butt, the game will make things tougher.
Exactly. And if you're struggling, the game will ease up a bit, give you a chance to catch your breath.
It's like having a personal AI trainer inside the game, pushing you to improve but not making it impossible.
That's a good way to put it. Left 4 Dead is a classic example of dynamic difficulty done right. It's a zombie shooter, and the game throws more zombies at you if you're doing well, fewer if you're having a tough time.
That makes sense. It keeps things challenging but fair. But speaking of control, there are games where the player's choices actually affect how the story unfolds, right?
Right. That's where AI-driven narrative comes into play. It's basically AI that helps shape the story based on the decisions you make as a player.
So it's not just about following a predetermined path.
No, in games with AI-driven narrative, the story can branch out in different directions depending on your actions.
That's so cool. And it makes the game feel way more personal, like you're actually in control of the story.
Exactly. A great example of this is Detroit, Become Human. It's a game set in a future where androids have become commonplace, and you play as 3 different androids, each facing their own moral dilemmas.
Yeah, I've heard of that one. It looks really intense.
It is. And the choices you make as those androids have a huge impact on how the story unfolds. You can lead them towards peaceful coexistence with humans or towards rebellion.
Wow, so it's not just about picking dialogue options. It's
Yep.
about your actions throughout the entire game.
Exactly. And the AI is constantly tracking your choices, making sure the story reflects the path you've chosen. It can lead to some really surprising and emotionally powerful moments.
Okay, so we've got AI making NPCs think and react, and now it's shaping the story too. It's almost like AI is taking over the role of a human game designer.
Well, it's definitely becoming a more powerful tool for storytelling,
Mm-hmm.
but it's important to remember that AI still needs human input.
Right, like it needs someone to program it to give it the basic building blocks of the story.
Exactly. AI is great at weaving those blocks together, creating variations and surprises, but it still relies on human creativity to come up with the core ideas, the characters, the themes.
So it's more of a partnership than a takeover.
That's a good way to think about it. AI and human creativity working together to create truly immersive and engaging game experiences.
And we've talked about how AI affects how characters think and how stories unfold, but it also plays a huge role in how those characters look and move, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In fact, some of the most noticeable uses of AI in games are in the graphics and animations.
It's crazy how realistic character movements have become. Like in sports games, you can almost see the individual muscles flexing.
Right. Games like FIFA use AI to create those incredibly fluid and lifelike player animations. The AI analyzes real-world motion capture data and then uses that data to generate animations that look and feel incredibly natural.
It's not just about making things look pretty either, right? Like the way characters move actually affects gameplay too.
Absolutely. In a sports game, realistic animations are crucial for making the game feel authentic. And in other genres, realistic movement can make the characters feel more believable, more immersive.
So like in a game like Grand Theft Auto, the way cars handle, the way pedestrians react, it all feels so lifelike.
And that's all thanks to AI. In Grand Theft Auto, the AI simulates complex physics systems for everything from car collisions to pedestrian behavior. It's what makes those chaotic city streets feel so believable.
It's amazing how much detail goes into these games.
Hmm.
And AI is behind so much of it. Now, there's this thing called machine learning that's often talked about as the brainiac of AI. So where does machine learning fit into all of this?
Machine learning. It's a big deal in AI, and it's playing an increasingly important role in game development.
But like, what exactly is machine learning?
Well, in simple terms, machine learning is a way for AI systems to learn and improve without being explicitly programmed for every single scenario.
It's like they're learning from experience.
Exactly. And that experience can come from tons of different sources. It could be from playing millions of games against itself, like those AI bots that beat professional players in Dota 2 and
I
StarCraft.
mean, those AI bots that are like better than humans, that's machine learning.
Yep, that's machine learning in action. Those bots were trained through a process called reinforcement learning. They basically played countless games against themselves, constantly analyzing their moves, learning from their mistakes, and refining their strategies.
So they're essentially practicing and getting better, just like a human player would, except they can do it way faster because they're computers.
Precisely. And the more they play, the better they get. It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it.
Totally. And machine learning isn't just for strategy games, right?
Nope, it's being used in all sorts of ways. For example, it can be used to create more realistic character voices and facial expressions.
Oh yeah, like those characters that look like they're actually talking and emoting.
Exactly. Machine learning can analyze real-world audio and video data and then use that data to create more nuanced and believable character performances.
That's awesome. It's all about blurring that line between reality and the game world.
And one of the coolest examples of that is the Nemesis system in the Shadow of Mordor games.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
So in those games, the orcs you fight, they're not just generic enemies. Each one has its own unique personality strengths, weaknesses, even relationships with other orcs. And the AI uses machine learning to generate personalized dialogue for each orc.
So they'll actually taunt you based on your past encounters.
Yeah, like if you've killed an orc's rival, that orc might actually thank you for it the next time you meet. Or if you've humiliated an orc in battle, they might hold a grudge and come after you for revenge later on.
That's so cool. It makes the
Okay.
world feel so dynamic and unpredictable. But let's talk about the not-so-fun side of gaming for a minute. Cheating.
Right, cheating is a problem in a lot of online games.
And it can totally ruin the experience for everyone else.
Exactly. But AI is actually being used to combat cheating in a lot of games.
Really? How does that work?
Well, many online games now use AI-powered systems to analyze player behavior in real time. These systems look for patterns and anomalies that might indicate cheating.
So like if someone is suddenly way better than they were before, if their movements are unnatural, the AI will flag it.
Exactly. It's like having an AI detective constantly on the lookout for suspicious activity.
That's pretty awesome.
Mm.
So AI is making our games more realistic, more immersive, more challenging, but it's also helping to keep them fair.
Exactly. It's playing a huge role both in front of and behind the scenes. And it's not just about improving the player experience. AI is also becoming a valuable tool for game developers themselves.
Oh, in what way?
Well, game development is a complex and time-consuming process, right? There are tons of tasks involved, from designing levels to testing gameplay to debugging code.
Yeah, it sounds pretty intense.
It is. But AI can actually automate many of these tasks, freeing up developers to focus on the more creative aspects of game design.
So it's like having an AI assistant helping with the less glamorous but essential parts of making a game.
Exactly. For example, AI can be used to generate level layouts, populate those levels with enemies, and items even test those levels for bugs and balance issues.
That's amazing. It's like AI is changing the way games are made from the ground up.
It really is. And it's not just assisting developers. AI is even giving players the tools to become creators themselves.
Wait, what? Players can make their own games using AI.
They can. Games like Dreams and Roblox have AI-powered tools that allow players to design their own levels, create characters, build entire game worlds. It's pretty incredible.
So it's like democratizing game development.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone can be a game creator now.
Exactly. And that's just the beginning. The possibilities for AI in gaming are practically limitless.
Okay, so we've talked about how AI is changing the way games are made, the way they're played, even the stories they tell. But what about the future of AI in gaming?
The future's looking pretty wild. Just imagine games that are so personalized they adapt to your individual playstyle and preferences, or games that can create entirely new stories and challenges on the fly, keeping you entertained for years.
That sounds incredible.
hmm
But are there any downsides to all of this? Like, could AI take over the gaming industry completely?
Well, it's important to remember that AI is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad.
So it really depends on how developers choose to use it.
Exactly. There are definitely ethical considerations to think about, like we need to make sure AI is being used fairly in competitive games, and we need to make sure players trust the AI that's controlling their games.
So it's not all sunshine and roses. There are challenges to overcome.
For sure. But the potential benefits are enormous. I think AI has the power to make games even more immersive, engaging, and creative than they are today.
It's an exciting time to be a gamer. So the next time you're playing a game, take a moment to appreciate the incredible work that's gone into it.
Mhm.
And remember that a lot of what makes those games so amazing is thanks to AI.
AI might be behind the scenes, but it's shaping the future of gaming in some pretty incredible ways. And who knows, maybe one day you'll be using those AI-powered tools to create your own gaming masterpiece.
That's a wrap for this deep dive, folks. Thanks for joining us.
Until next time.
Happy gaming.